Well, President Trump today signing a declaration making Sunday a day of prayer for Harvey victims. My next guest was at the White House for the event. He led a group prayer with the president. Joining me now is Pastor Robert Jeffress, the pastor at First Baptist Church in Dallas, Texas. Pastor, did you have anything to do with the idea of making Sunday a day of prayer for Harvey victims?
This was completely the president's idea, and it was such an honor for me, David, to stand next to him when he issued this proclamation, to be able to lead in prayer. And as I said in my prayer, I'm grateful we have a president who believes in the power of prayer. And even though he's the most powerful man in the world, he's not too proud to bow his head in the Oval Office and ask for God's divine help. I think that ought to encourage every American that we have a president like that.
Well, we didn't seem to have a president like that the last one. George W. Bush certainly had a very strong faith and relied on it, used it, talked about it. President Trump, though, a lot of people wonder what brought him to this feeling of faith, to the belief in prayer. Do you know the answer to that?
Well, I've known the president for 2 years, and I think people would be surprised just because of the liberal media about the president's emphasis on prayer. I've been in so many situations, David, with him when he's the one who took the initiative and would say, "Pastor, would you pray for me?" I remember one time leading a meeting for him, and he interrupted me. He said, "Pastor, I think we ought to start with prayer." He had to remind me to pray. So the president is a man of deep faith. Right. Even though it's very personal to him, it's very real to him.
But at the same time, he has changed his views on certain matters that involve faith, like, for example, the understanding of abortion and when life begins. And there was a change in his mindset. I'm wondering what brought that about and whether belief in prayer was a part of it.
Well, he will say about his change on the sanctity of life, it had to do with an experience with a friend of his. He evolved on that position just like Ronald Reagan evolved on that position. You know, when he was governor of California, Reagan signed the most liberal abortion bill in California history, but he changed, and I respect President Trump for changing, and he is very much supportive of the sanctity of life.
Now, you are a Texan. And a proud Texan, and I know you're right there with all the Texans who are going through the trials and tribulations right now.
Yes.
There has been a certain grit that we have seen, and part of it is just the people who refuse to consider themselves victims, who get right back into rebuilding what they have without waiting for some assistance from the government. To the volunteers that have come from all walks of life, again, not waiting for FEMA, not waiting for the Red Cross, going in themselves to do that. Describe that grit, and I'm sure it must be a source of pride for you.
Well, it is. And, you know, in Texas, we have a lot of rivalry between cities, Dallas and Houston, in sports. And yet Houston is our sister city. And I know here in Dallas, we're doing everything we can. Our church is to send money, to send volunteers, to send supplies. And it's not only those who are Texans, it's those, David, who are outside of our state, who are coming into our state. But I also see Christians banding together and really expressing the love of Jesus Christ for those who may be of the Christian faith or no faith at all, but this is a time for us to show the love of Christ, and I believe people are doing just that.
You know, the thing about prayer, Pastor, and I know you're familiar with this, God answers your prayers, but never as you think He's going to answer your prayers, right?
That's right. That's exactly right.
So what do you think the power of that Sunday is going to do? You only have 15 seconds. Go ahead.
Well, I believe prayer moves the hand of God. I don't understand how it works, but God tells us to pray at all times. If we will do that this Sunday, I think we're going to see more and more miracles.
Thank God for that. Pastor Jeffress, great to see you. Wonderful to see you today, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. I appreciate it.